All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today we're going to take something we literally do every single day, talking, and break it all the way down to its bare bones mechanics. We're turning abstract communication theory into totally practical language mastery, specifically looking at how we encode our messages at work versus when we're just hanging out. It's actually wild how a split-second decision in your brain can completely change how your message lands.
Here's our quick roadmap. We'll hit the communication journey, mechanics, channels, and noise, the art of encoding, formal versus informal language, and finally, some real-life language scenarios.
Section 1. The communication journey. Let's get grounded in what actually happens when we try to share a thought.
At its absolute core, communication is just a two-way process of exchanging ideas or info between two human beings. You've got a sender transmitting a message, and they're looking for some kind of response from the receiver. Maybe you want to change their mind or negotiate a deal. But hey, the receiver might not want their mind changed. Both sides have their own unique goals, which makes the actual journey of that shared idea pretty mechanical and honestly, sometimes a bit of a competition.
This setup brilliantly lays out the foundation. Just look at the flow. We start on the left with the source who encodes a message. That message travels through a channel to the receiver who then has to decode it. And the crucial part? It circles right back through feedback. Feedback is everything. It's how the sender knows the message was actually received and hopefully understood exactly as intended. I mean, think about it. If you're talking to a group and someone's nodding and smiling, you naturally start directing your comments to them, right? That is feedback in real time.
Moving on to Section 2, Mechanics, Channels, and Noise. Let's see what happens when we throw the physical environment into this mix.
So, we humans are entirely unique because we use symbolic forms of communication, mainly written or spoken language. Let's say you want a pencil. A direct, non-symbolic way to get it is just reaching over the table and grabbing the thing. But the symbolic way? That's making eye contact and saying, "Please pass me the pencil." You're taking your desire, translating it into symbols, words, and sending those symbols across a channel, like the airwaves in a room or a phone line.
But here's where things get really interesting. The introduction of noise. You can see those disruptions in the flow. Senders and receivers use transmitters and receptors. Basically, our voices, our eyes, our ears. But what if the receiver has trouble hearing? Or what if you're trying to explain something super complex in the middle of a loud, chaotic hotel ballroom? That distraction is noise. The more chaotic the environment, the more that noise interferes. And this whole beautiful communication process can just totally break down.
Section 3. The art of encoding. The absolute key here is understanding what's happening inside our heads before those words ever hit the airwaves.
This is the internal machinery. First, we have meanings. These are your facts, your ideas, your feelings. They act as your internal filters. Next up is encoding, which is where we take those filtered meanings and package them into symbolic form. Now, your success here depends a lot on your fluency and skill. Finally, the receiver does the decoding, translating your symbols back into something they can actually understand. And if your encoding is sloppy, their decoding is going to be way off.
And we've got to remember, everybody has different encoding preferences, which can definitely cause some friction. Picture two managers trying to hash out a contract. One might strongly prefer to encode verbally, like, "Hey, let's just grab lunch and talk it through." But the other, they might want a strict written channel, sending formal drafts back and forth. Same exact goal, totally different encoding strategies.
Which brings us to Section 4, Formal versus Informal Language. This is the main event. It's how we practically apply all this encoding stuff by choosing between formal and informal language registries. And honestly, this choice changes everything.
The contrast between these two styles is massive. Formal language is your office mode. Surprisingly, you use it when you're relaxed enough to carefully select proper standard words, and we actually use it way less than informal language. Informal language, though, that's your everyday life. It's home, it's friends, it's full of slang, maybe some improper phrasing, and we usually lean on it when we're rushing around.
A perfect example of this is vocabulary. Formal encoding relies on specific purpose words. You define the exact role: manager, supervisor, owner. Informal encoding, it loves shortcuts. It leans heavily on all-purpose catch-alls like boss, a single word we lazily use to cover a dozen totally different roles and personalities.
Section 5, Real-Life Language Scenarios. Okay, let's put this into practice and really focus in on the difference between formal and informal language using some real-world simulations. Let's see how the exact same core meaning gets encoded completely differently based on the vibe.
Picture this. You're rushing out the door, you suddenly realize you need a pen, and you fire off this quick message to a work buddy. Hey, I'm grabbing a pencil. Tell the boss I'm running late. That right there is textbook informal encoding.
Let's break down exactly why. The sender is clearly in a massive hurry, literally running late. They're super casual, treating the coworker like a close friend. The language is so relaxed it's borderline improper for work. And the dead giveaway? They use that all-purpose word boss, instead of saying who exactly needs to be notified. It gets the job done fast, but it totally lacks precision.
Now flip that. Contrast that hurried, messy message with this very deliberate request. Imagine sitting across a quiet boardroom table. Please pass me the pencil so I can write a note to the supervisor. The core idea is identical. You need a pencil, you're dealing with a superior. But the encoding has completely shapeshifted.
This is formal encoding executed flawlessly. The speaker is in a professional setting, they're relaxed enough to actually build a complete, polite sentence, and they're using proper symbolic representation, please pass me, instead of just snatching it. And the kicker? They use the specific purpose word supervisor. There is no ambiguity at all, practically eliminating the chance of the receiver decoding it wrong.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to think about your own daily interactions. Every single time you speak or type, you are a source encoding a symbol. Are you actually pausing to pick the right filter, formal or informal, for where you are? Are you using specific words to guarantee smooth decoding, or are you just rushing, throwing around slang and accidentally pumping noise into the channel? Just some food for thought the next time you ask someone to pass the pencil. Thanks for tuning in.